All right. We are back in full effect. Yes. Yeah, go for it. Be Wealthy Podcast 2.0. Don't know what episode it is. Episode possibly, I think I have a few. This is the reboot. This is the test tube, the beta test. Later, we have ideas of having a full-on panel discussion, maybe about wellness in the modern day. Like, how does it resonate with people today? Religion, where is religion? We'll talk about that. Did it change faces? Did it get destroyed? Is spirituality the new black? Oh, hi, Mosley. Lot to discuss. So we're here at the Full Circle Yoga X Wellness Studios at FC. We at FC Wellness Entertainment at Full Circle, the rising of. And we're trying to be, not just trying, but doing so, is we are, reshaping, re-languaging. I don't know if that's a real word. It's kind of an oxymoron. But we are looking to modernize, betterment, wellness, evolution. How can we compete with today's attention span? Because in order to attract and manifest, you have to be able to override the short attention span. And I'm guilty of it myself, because you have to hold things in order to attract things. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, is how to attract things, and not just from the micro but to the macro and everything in between. Because what I get asked a lot as a teacher, a wellness coach, is that, like, how do I attract a new life, especially the older you get? I'm 42 years of human, and it takes a lot longer for me to relearn or try to learn new things. So I have to be a little more vigilant than the youthful ones, right? So in order to attract things, and first you got to know who you are, right? That's number one. Because what do you want to attract? Because it's not what you want, it's what you are. That's what you attract. That's what I can come up with if there was an absolute thing to learn in manifestation and attracting, is that you attract what you are, not what you want. So that in itself takes a load of work, of understanding, of discipline, to know who you are, verify it, because you have to question too who you are, because you don't know if it was something that was conditioned to you and was given to you, and because there's a lot of things that were part of my upbringing, nurture, nature, stuff like that. And there's some things that I question, because sometimes I feel like I'm pretty ratchet, like I'm hood, and I like it. I do like it, So I like to fluctuate between energies with that. So if if sometimes you feel like you're a sad person or you're an angry person, and in which cases, some cases, circumstances, you just are. You're just angry. But this is why it's important to understand that these things that we possess are on a fluctuation. It's the polyphonic flux energetic continuum. It's a symphony of energies always going up and down, and we shouldn't get hang up on the definitive. Like, if you say you're angry, but are you 100% angry? Because then if you're angry, but I think there's times where I'm like 12% angry, 14%, 30%, and it goes from moment to moment. It's hard to hold things consistently for a long period of time, like anger. To hold it for like an hour, that's a lot of energy being used up, right? And it's also draining. And there's also energies that are uplifting if you hold it for long, like gratitude. And that's the main joint. Gratitude can keep you uplifted in an inspired frequency and sustain itself for a long period of time, right? And that's why, learning how to get into a place of a homeostatic state, to be in chill, to be peaceful, that's going to be, that's going to be a huge component to you attracting things, because, you got to quiet the self down. You got to quiet the mind, the body, get it to a really slow state where you can manifest freely. Because if you're in a heightened fight or flight state, and you're trying to attract from that state, you're just going to attract more things to be fight or flighty abouty. So you got to chill. You got to get yourself into a grounded place. And how do you access that, Dave? Well, the breath. Right? First, awareness, knowing that you're in this heightened state. And here's the key piece, right? Because in between impulse and action, right, it's very small. It's a very small space. And in that small space, let's spread it out. So here's impulse, here's action. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit, right? And this is what the breath affords us to. It gives us a little more space between that impulsive action, like knee-jerk and getting upset and angry, to the actual action, right? So if you have enough space to respond rather than react, then you're in good company. Right? Because, sometimes we think action as this actual physical thing, but deciding whether or not to react is an action, right? If I said, okay, someone cuts me off and I'm going to flip them off, that's a decision. I made a decision. Whether you think so or not, it's a subconscious reaction. It's a reactivity to flip somebody off, right, when you're angry. But if you respond by expanding that space between impulse and action, well, you're going to have a lot more options to go over, right? Because, boom, flipping somebody off when you get cut off, there's only one choice there, right? Because it's a small fraction of space in between impulse and action. So you don't have enough decisions to filter through to pick apart, right? So when you expand that space between impulse and action, you say, flip them off. No, instead of flipping off, maybe I just recognize that I'm angry. Or maybe I just find gratitude that I was able to avoid an accident, right? Trying to flip it, flip the perspective. Or maybe I just take a deep breath, put my hands on the steering wheel, refocus on the wall, on the road, right? So now you have 5 different actions just by expanding that space between impulse and action. Because that space will, it's more like a Chinese food menu, right? Those motherfuckers are long, right? You have a lot of choices and stuff, and that's what expanding that space. This is what the breath affords us to do, and it takes practice. No one gets it on the first time, but if you do, please come through. I'd like to interview you to know how you did it. You know what I mean? Because there are instances where you can just have it together. But for me, it took me some going, right? It should have, cutting somebody off and then pulling up to them, just ice grilling them and shit, right? I've done that, yelled at them. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Let's not do that again. That didn't feel good to me. So then I await the next opportunity to practice the conscious breath, the expansion between impulse and action. Because once I achieve that, once I do that, and you got to keep doing it, and that's the thing about this evolution, this personal development. You have to take risks to put yourself in experiences that will warrant you to access these practices. You can't just go throughout life thinking like, yeah, I'm going to be a compassionate person. You have to have experiences to practice compassion, to even to embody it. And it'll be kind of like robotic at first. You'll get discouraged. You're not going to be like, oh, man, I should have responded last time. But then the next time it happens, you will, maybe you still go about and go through the knee-jerk reaction. But even during it, it'll be less. The turnover rate will be less, right? You'll catch it next time. You'll process it. And then you move on faster. And then you rinse and repeat. And this is why it's important that you gotta live, man. You got to live. You know, I live all the time. A lot of people just exist. And how you live is you break out the mundane. You do something different, at least once a day. And it doesn't have to be extravagant and shit. Maybe you go to the museum you've been putting off, right? You know, maybe you reach out to that cousin that you haven't spoke to in a long time and you had that fight, right? And now you just want to so, and all this stuff goes and it snowballs. Right, because energy goes where attention flows, and that's the key, right, for manifestation. If you're able to get into a calm state, right, and then plant the seed of intention, then nurture that seed with intention with your attention, nurture that seed of intention with attention, right, because attention, right, energy goes where attention flows, and attention is water for that seed. Now, if you had weeds and you had roses and you put your attention on weeds, then weeds are going to grow. It doesn't matter, right? So this is why you have to direct the attention, take the intentional breath to direct the attention to where you want to, and then hold that attention on a consistent basis. Now, if you factor in, well, you know, I Googled how many thoughts we have, and it's about like 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day, right? And if you break that down, maybe per minute is about 6 to 8 breaths, 6 to 8 thoughts in a minute. Like how many of those, let's say 7, right? How many of those 7 thoughts, I didn't do no math in this, just go with it now. So how many of those 7 thoughts within a minute are inspired one, and how much are a depleting one? Because like most of the thoughts that we think, most people, are repetitive, negative, draining, not beneficial, that's for sure, right? And that's where, and we want to reverse that, right? We want to go at least, say those 7 thoughts, you have 5 negatives to 2 positives, right? So we want to tip the scales. We want to at least even out, right? 3 to 3, get to a place. So, and this is why gratitude is a great frequency to tune into, because gratitude itself, it's very, very, it's everywhere. You can find it everywhere. You can be like, oh, I'm grateful for being in a space that's protection. I'm grateful for being alive. I'm grateful for plumbing. I'm grateful for friends. I'm grateful, that always lightens the mood and creates an atmosphere, a breeding ground of manifestation. So, getting to a calm state, you're much more likely to direct your attention to a kinder and inspired place rather being in a fight or flight, anxious place. Because you'll keep attracting more anxious, more anxiety, more things to be disrupted over. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things to be distorted and disrupted over, but why though? Why do you want to keep doing that? I mean, unless you're into it, which I was for a long time. I loved chaos. I was addicted to chaos. No, but I'm addicted to peace now. It's funny. And I'm going all over the place, but I don't really care because I used to be addicted to chaos, right? But now I'm addicted to peace. Every now and then I let chaos in. Now I choose it. But, right, so it's like, people ask me this. So I got into a relationship. Yeah, shout out Michelle, what's up? And I love her. She's great, very great. And people, my friends, I was telling them about it. Just like, are you happy? And I don't think we really take time to unpackage that question and how detrimental it can be. Because, like, what do you mean? Like, happy right now? Like, happy all day? Because I think people think that they'll get into a relationship and they're just going to be happy. Au contraire, mon frère. Because that's not the goal, at least not for me. Because I think happy is a gift of a lifestyle. It's a byproduct of living a certain way. And you should enjoy it while it's there, when you have it. and then come back to peace, because that's where I want to be. I want to be in equanimity, peace, walk in peace, and then that in itself generates great connections that inspire happiness, that trigger happiness, right? Because I think triggers, always I'm like, oh, triggers is a negative thing. You're always triggering a negative emotion when you say trigger, but you also can trigger positivity. Triggers with attitude, And I think with peace, walking in peace, because you don't want to drain yourself from happiness. Yeah, because what are you going to be happy 24/7? That'd be something, Maybe bliss. Bliss is cool. Bliss would be a dope state to be in. Just like walking and jogging, sailing and tailing. Being in a peaceful state to attract. And then you could get to know yourself, right? Because being in a peaceful state and not critiquing, but seeing these things, these quote unquote ugly sides or defects about ourselves, you can look at it in a compassionate light and not be so down on yourself because you feel these things. And then you can progress and move on, right? So back to holding attention in the direction of your intention and holding it consistently, right? Gratitude, 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 gratitude. If I just sang gratitude, I would be grateful. And then, I am a upstanding, balanced, forthright human being. I am a kind, good person that deserves kind, good things and will get an abundance of joy, abundance of finances in the most flowy-like place, right? And that's key too. You got to be really precise, right? And that's number 2, precision. So number 1, getting into a calmer, equanimous state. Number 2, being precise about your manifestations. Because there's like, you want that? All right, like say if you want a financial abundance and stuff like that, well, you might be going to be working hard to get it, What if I said I want financial abundance by doing the things I love to do and it comes easy? Well, now you're playing with some water right there, y'all. You really could start to think, wait, I thought we had to grind. I thought we had to work hard to get what we want. Au contraire, mon frère. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, there's a ton of things in my life. Now, when I look at my life and, I look at it, the bank account, well, why don't you be manifesting a better bank account? I am. All right, I'm figuring it out, but I'm going to do it in the most leisure way. But, if I take a few steps back and zoom out on my existence, on my life, wow, like I have a studio in Center City. I get paid to watch dogs, that I love dogs. I'm here in this beautiful space. I'm doing a podcast on a Monday. I'm doing all the things I love. This whole weekend was chock full of all the things I love to do. And that's what abundance is, right? You're doing the things you love to do, and you're getting compensated for it, right? That's part of the ikigai. We'll talk about that some other time, right? So getting in equanimity, balanced state, homeostatic state, being precise, precision on what you want to do and what you want to live and how you want to do it. And don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask to have a chill life. You know what I mean? But know when you got to line up. You know what I'm saying? Know when you got to line up. I think Dave Chappelle said it. His mother told him, sometimes you got to be the lion to be the lamb you was meant to be. Right? You got to be fierce. You got to get it. And that's what I've been learning a lot today, at this ripe age of 62. Now, is that I'm going to do this thing via heart model. I'm going to follow my heart. And if it happens to crash and burn, I know I followed my heart and I followed God, and I didn't compromise my integrity this time. I want to be in my very long old age or whatever, And if I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to be like, yeah, I followed my heart. And hopefully I have a huge family around me, grandkids. Yeah, and I've been looking to start a family myself eventually, because that would be nice. That would be nice. I was against it for a long time because I was against myself. I didn't find a lot of value in myself, so I didn't want to reproduce a version of me that wasn't going to contribute to society and be of high value, and or be a forthright human, and just help with the universe and help with the world. So yeah, another version of me, another clone, another spawn, little offspring. Perfect. We covered a lot. I went across the place, but it's all relative, right? So equanimous state, precision, allowance. Now we're going to talk about allowance. Now you have, you rode, like you rowed a boat, and now you got to sail. And then you have to be observant whenever the universe starts to, show you these signs that, okay, it's coming. It's coming. Now you got to be, you got to allow it. You got to be in a receptive state in order for yourself to bring it to, 1 second, guys. To see the opportunities that will help you manifest that, right? The connections. When this is where awareness and being conscious comes huge, because then you have to be able to see it happening and decipher the universe's message that, like, oh, this is what I asked for. I'm gonna receive it. I'm gonna take it. Like, hey, come on out. I want to get more into music. I want to network. I want to meet more people, right? And all of a sudden, someone has open mics and wants a new space, and it's in your network. Go to their open mic, right? If a flyer comes to me on my feed or whatever, this happened. Shout out to Collagene. And an open mic, I was like, let's bring it here. And they brought it here because that was an opportunity for me to network, to perform. And it happened to be my first performance ever, well, at least in this conscious state, in this pure state. And it's like a whole new born again thing. So, and I took advantage of it because the universe said, all right, here you go. But I had to be able to see it be presented to me and not be distracted by all these other things. Like, oh, I got to pay the rent, I got to pay the bills, I got to do all this stuff. Granted, that's a great place to do, but don't let it consume you. Again, following the heart, being able to, so being in a soft space, equanimous state, balanced state, homeostatic state, being precise with your manifestations, allowance, receptive, being able to understand and decipher when the moment arises for you to, seize the opportunity. Again, warranting the practices, putting yourself in experiences that warrant you to practice that thing that you're afraid of, which for me was like performance, being in front of people and singing the songs I do. And just get doing it, just fucking doing it, right? And number 4, consistency. So if you're working on, being a musician and entertainer and you're trying to get into more opportunities, you have to be consistent with being in an equanimous state, right? Being precise, being consistent with that, being in a receptive state, allowance, and being consistent, wrapping it all up, being all consistent and all that. And again, it doesn't have to be at a 10 to be consistent, right? You can fall short of the mark, but you're still in that same proximity of your intentions, right? Like still being going to open mics, still practicing being nervous before a performance, but doing it anyway. That's being consistent. Even if you just go to an open mic and not perform and you kind of chicken out, but you made it to the space, you observed, and you gained some, and you were in the room, the atmosphere of that. So again, you don't have to hit the mark all the time, but I would suggest that you do, right? Because then you could backslide. You don't want that to happen often. Okay? So yeah, 4, I would like to make it a 5 thing, consistency. Well, I guess the 5th thing could be, reap your rewards. Enjoy it when you do it, right? So being equanimous, being balanced, being in a homeostatic state, be precise, be very, very specific on your intentions. Being in a receptive state, allowance, sale, trust in it, being able to decipher when the message is being presented to you, to take the opportunity. 4, consistency. Be consistent in all of those things, okay? And number 5, enjoy the spoils of your labors. Enjoy the fruits of your labors. Excuse me, not the spoils. Oh, yeah, the spoils. I think that's it, right? Like some pompous king. Yeah, and then you'll find yourself in a place. So here's the thing. You're always doing that. You're always doing these things. Now, the quality of these things that you're doing, if you're doing it subconsciously, because a lot of us practice misery, right? We're practicing, being in a hard state, a stiff, rigid state, or a fight or flight or a tense state. You're practicing that all the time, and then that means you're bringing in more stuff to be resistant to or tense about and stressed about. Okay, and that's the whole. So there's the as above, so below. There's the flip side to all that, right? And then can always say, you're being precise for sure. You're being precise on being miserable. Excuse me. You're being precise on being ungrateful. You're being precise of complaining. Okay, and then you're receiving more of that. You're the third, right? You're being receptive to that, and you know what I mean, because it's not bias. And on 4, you're being consistent on that. And that's what we do as humans, especially in Western civilization. We have a tendency to be consistently ungrateful, to be consistently complaining or consistently bitching or consistently being addicted to things. And then you get those spoils. You get those results of that. So that's the cycle. So the idea is to supplement all those, things, and then bring an inspired lightness to things. And a way to get to that is to come to yoga class at Dave Hammond, Full Circle Wellness Entertainment, Full Circle YXW. I can help guide you and show you the ways that of the teacher within that you can apply when you're not in a studio. Hell yeah. So that was a great talk. I think that was a good talk, especially for the first one. I really think, again, this is manifestation in real time, guys. Like, I wanted to do a podcast. I've been resistant to it, just getting to it. But now Ed Cat's been staying here, hooking things up. We have the setup. We have the sound, because I wanted to make it somewhat official. But I also just wanted to get the first one out there. I did one a couple weeks ago, and, there's the consistency piece. Sometimes I miss the mark, but here we are, hitting the mark again. So that's a little bit of the basics of manifestation with your favorite Asian. I'm Dave Hem. This is the Full Circle Be Wealthy Podcast. This is Wellness Entertainment. We got a lot of cool things coming up. We just had Cookie Rabinowitz crush it outside in the live performance for the Open Streets. Shout out to the city of Philadelphia for doing that. Shout out to Giovanna, shout out to the Michelle, a lot of Michelles in my life lately. That's what's up. And they're all gems, and they've been really good people. And so next week we have the primaries performing at 4 p.m. And then, hello. Hey, come on in, just in time. Look, we have a guest. So you might as well get in on this. So we have Celine Rose, right? Oh, yeah, come on in. Have a seat. And Mosley in the house. How's it look? It looks great?
Hi, Mosley.
So Celine Rose will be rehearsing today and Wednesday?
Yes, today and Wednesday.
So today, and what are you rehearsing?
We are rehearsing an Egyptian dance piece for a Philly Belly Dance Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
I am the teacher. And yeah, the number itself is showcasing modern, like Arab pop and hip hop sounds.
Yeah.
So it's belly dance, but the music may be a little bit more modern than you're used to associating with belly dance, but from that region, not putting our that dance on our music. So.
I love that because that's what I do. I'm trying to bring wellness into a modern day and make it cool. I want to make it cool. I want to add my own song to it because I do like dance routines in my classes, like Broadway theater, with like more modern music and stuff. You know, big jazz hands. But you know, it's like I think doing that, putting your own spin to it, has a way of like speaking to and resonating with certain people that wouldn't, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so I'll just wrap it up and talk about things, but do you have any other events coming up? When is your show?
Our show is on September 22nd. It's actually sold out.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple more things that I'm in. I am going to be on this Saturday in a burlesque and drag show based on Pee Wee Herman.
Hey, is there any specific, just a show or like?
Anything in the Pee Wee Herman universe, all the movies, all the shows, yeah.
That's so crazy. I'm inspired. Those are my influences, Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, really?
Richard Simmons.
Oh, I love that.
Tupac, Deepak.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Motley Crue.
You know, MacGyver. You know, just
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so that's cool. And so that's the 22nd, or
that's the 21st. So this Saturday at Frankie Bradley's.
Okay.
I'll be doing Cowboy Curtis.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne. Yep.
Yeah. So do you have a word of the day for us before we go?
The word of the day will be 2 words. It's rock sharky, and that is the Egyptian term for belly dance.
Oh, rock sharky. How do you spell that?
The first word is raqs, R-A-Q-S, which just means dance. That's the word for dance.
Okay.
And sharki, S-H-A-R-Q-I, which just means Eastern. So it means Eastern dance is what they call it in Egypt.
Rocky. Yes. Rock.
Raqs sharki.
Raqs sharki. That's beautiful. Great word of the day. Something I've learned.
Absolutely.
Always looking to learn new phrases to put in my lexicon.
Absolutely. Me too. Same.
Maybe next time we can have a longer format discussion. Just popping in, and I'm going to show her around. She's going to be rehearsing. We're going to show her the protocol, getting ins and outs, and so hopefully we'll have future events together so you can just be popping in at any time and getting in. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the Full Circle YXW podcast. Be Wealthy. That's WELLTHY.
All right, I love
that. Stay tuned. All right, guys. Thank you. Peace.
Oh,
thank you.
Be wealthy. Oh, I love that.